Chiefs Kingdom, welcome into the latest edition, a great edition of the AP Film Room on the Arrowhead Pride YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, make sure you're liking our stuff, and make sure you're tuned into this one because we got a Super Bowl preview on deck. I mean, you know, an inaugural Super Bowl preview edition of the AP Film Room. You know, we didn't get one last year, so this is the first edition looking ahead to a Super Bowl. Had the week to kind of regroup. We looked at, obviously, the AFC Championship last week, but now we're looking ahead. We're looking ahead, and to do that today, I'm Ron Kopp Jr., the lead analyst. Caleb James, Nate Christensen with me, two great film analysts at the site. Boys, we're here. We're looking ahead. We're looking at the Super Bowl. You two are actually going to look at Eagles stuff. Yes, the soft clap. I love it. You two are actually going to look at the Eagles, specifically what they do. I have a little Chief stuff, but Caleb, we'll start with you, man. How you feeling? Are the nerves building up quite a bit by now?
You know, I'm doing pretty good. I've just been trying to stay busy throughout the week as best everyone can, but we're through Wednesday, right. So that means the next 3 days are about to be a lot of Twitter scrolling, a lot of video watching, a lot of nervous pacing. You know, you can go the whole 9 yards on that one, but it's all fun. You know, anytime you get to see your team playing for the Super Bowl, you know, it's a great time. It's a great thing for the city. It's a great thing for the people of Kansas City. It's a great thing for Chiefs Kingdom all over. So, you know, it don't get too much better than this.
Nate, what about you, man? How you feeling?
I didn't pace myself very well. I started watching Eagles stuff last Friday. I basically did that most of my Saturday and Sunday, which, you know, we'll get into obviously. But, yeah, I still have things I want to look at before. But, yeah, I paced myself, and now it's just like I want to play the game because, like, at a certain point, you kind of reach where you have nothing else to say.
Right.
And I'm getting close to that point. But yeah, no, I didn't pace myself well this year. It's feeling longer, that's for sure.
Yeah, no. If anyone is a frequent follower of the site and articles, you know what Nate's talking about because he has already plenty of Eagles previews up on the site. We still got more to come though. Still got more to come for sure on the site. So make sure you're tuned in there. But again, today we're breaking down the film. It's what we do here, the X's and O's. And then again, you guys are talking Eagles, but I'm going to go ahead and start here today. I'm going to be the first one to present. And I did want to maybe start on a little bit of a negative tone because it is looking ahead to in a game where the run game is going to be important for the offense, in my opinion. And that's where I'm going to look at the postseason run game where it really wasn't very impressive this year. You know, you talk about the Chiefs running backs this year averaged only 3.8 yards per carry as a group in the playoffs. And that would be the second worst rate in the entire NFL if you stretch that out among a season this year. And the thing with that is, and the thing I kind of, had some fun with Twitter with was one of those runs, the only run that went over 12 yards out of all of them. There's only 2 double-digit runs out of the entire running back group, 37 carries in the playoffs. One of them was a 39-yard run by Pacheco. That was obviously very important, but it was actually pretty well defended by the Jaguars, stuffed up, and just one guy, didn't defend the edge well, and Pacheco bounced it. A great play by Pacheco. But all that to say, if the Chiefs don't have that 39-yard run and that just goes for, a little next to nothing, they were averaging 2.8 yards per carry from the running back group in the postseason. And the thing I want to show first with that on note is, I think Jaguars and Bengals just challenged the Chiefs passing offense to win when the Mahomes' ankle was obviously hampering him. You saw a lot more 3-4 base fronts, right? The Chiefs don't get a lot of those, right? They're always going to get the nickel fronts, the 4-man fronts. But you saw against the Bengals and the Jaguars, they were going more to traditional, what you see from a base 3-4. Obviously, this one's more just because they're backed up. But you saw it from the Bengals too. You see a straight up nose tackle and 2 defensive ends at the 4-eye 5 techs, and that's the thing. And then 2 outside linebackers, obviously winging them. So that's the thing. The Chiefs, a lot of times in the run game, are used to getting these 4-man fronts with a very light box where they can really know where they're going. Right, it's a very easy path to get where they're going. It's not as easy when the entire line's crowded like this, right? It's just not as easy, and there's not going to be as much space. And so a lot of it was just the fact that the opposing defenses really were just challenging the Chiefs, run game to really get something going, or the Chiefs pass game, to really get something going, because maybe they were banking on the Chiefs relying on the run game with Mahomes' ankle. But another part of it too, I got to highlight here is And someone that I've highlighted this year on the backside of outside zone in the past, Andrew Wiley. Just a few bad reps that have cost the team, especially in the red zone. These 2 reps I'm going to show you are both in the red zone, but just not getting good good leverage, good jump on these these outside zone. The backside of the outside zone, he just doesn't lock in enough, just doesn't engage with him enough, and he just needs to drive him. He just loses him on this first one, right? A lot of times when you're in this position, you're not going to get a perfect scoop, right? You're not going to scoop him and get that leverage all the way around, but you just got to start driving him and get him away. He just loses him here because he just doesn't he doesn't get it in front of him enough and tries to almost you can see him. He just doesn't get any sort of any sort of frontage on him, really, the leverage. And the same thing kind of happens here, but this time he holds, right? He doesn't allow him to get all the way to the running back. He holds, and they call it, and it's a flag on a touchdown in the AFC Championship. So just a few reps of just Wiley kind of showing why maybe why he shouldn't be necessarily just a starting right tackle, and why they obviously should be looking next year to upgrade that position. But it's going to be a problem in the Super Bowl as well. These Eagles have a lot of a lot of challenges they can present from the edge position. Caleb, I know you're going to show that, but the thing with the solution here, I think, is they just need to get a little more downhill, a little more nasty with the run game. We talked about that all the time on here, right, guys? I mean, we talk about, they rely a little too much on zone, these outside zones, these horizontal runs, getting sideline to sideline. Get a little more nasty with it. And you did see a little sneak of it here, which I wanted to break this down with you guys, because I'm still not sure exactly if this is, a different call, if this is an ISO type of call, a duo type of call. I don't think it is, because I think the double teams would come at different places here. But you kind of see that, you see this double team right here at the center and left guard position. You also see Wiley and Brown come off. Obviously, this is a different kind of set. I probably should preview that first. It's a unbalanced set, so you got both tackles on one side. But you kind of see them come off and attack. Brown, I don't think is planning to attack 21 here. I think he's coming off to help Wiley on this guy, and 21 obviously just gets in his way, and Brown does a great job coming off and sealing him right there. But this is more of a downhill ISO type of play, and I like it. And Tooney does a great job here coming off, right, and scooping the linebacker enough to get Pacheco the yards. It's only a 3rd and 2. I should have mentioned that. It's a 3rd and 2 here to get the first down, but you just don't see a lot of these downhill where they're trusting the line to just, man up and block somebody, get someone, just find a guy, get your hands on him and don't let it, drive him obviously, but don't let don't let him touch the running back. So I just don't see that. And I'd love to get your guys' take on, am I just tripping? Is this just zone and they're just playing it more aggressively? I don't know, Nate, what do you think? I'll start with
I mean, it looks like an ISO run to me. I think they're running right at that strong side A gap towards the tight ends, and then he just kind of bounces. I don't know. It's interesting. I didn't quite notice it, but yeah, I think it's more of an ISO block. They're at least targeting just right up the middle.
Caleb, what do you think?
I'm going to go zone because everyone's angle is facing to the left there, and they've really started to run a lot of this backside. They've been running zone to the weak side a lot. It's been something they've done since the Denver game, the first Denver game, I've noticed. But if you kind of stop right about now or whatever, it was real good. Great. They're all on the same angle, and really you see Joe Tooney's footwork on this. He's waiting to get into the double team with Creed because they're crashing down all these guys on the side. Right. But really, when they get the tight ends all over there, it gives them this nice little one-on-one block for Wiley, and then Brown can kind of just come off and get whatever comes in his gap. So
yeah,
I don't think it's a zone. I think it's just, but their splits are a little tighter. Everything's a little more compact, and they're trying to just get more vertical with it quicker.
No, that's a good point on Tooney's footwork. It's really just that's what makes it look like maybe more of an ISO. But it doesn't make sense for him to run it in the tradition, run his footwork in the traditional sense, because you only need 2 yards here. It's a short yardage. You just need to, like you said, wait for the double team and just be stout there instead of kind of putting one arm on him and kind of spanning out like you usually do maybe on his own left. So
they had the overload also,
But it's a great play by Tooney here. But it just in general though, I think under center. Downhill handoff, on 3rd and shorts. I just, it's nice to see this. And obviously they didn't get the 3-man front here, right? Or the 3-4 front here. They get a traditional 4-man front, and that works perfectly against an unbalanced line. But One more play I want to show about the run game, because again, what I'm saying is I just want to see more gap runs, and I did count it up. I charted all the postseason runs. They ran only 3 gap runs, which the way you really can designate that is they pull someone, right? A guard. They ran 3 of them total, right? And I just feel like you could run a few more of those in 2 games, 37 running back handoffs. To only run 3 powers or counters, or it could be a pin and pull. I mean, we've seen them do that down the stretch of the season. I just wish they would have implemented them a little more in the postseason, and maybe they're saving it up for Philly, because again, and one thing I should have mentioned here is when you see those base 3-4 fronts, those downhill run schemes is what you want to run, right? Like that's what's going to open them up. I mean, that's what's going to get you the home run plays, a counter or a power. I mean, that's what you want to run. You don't want to run zone, because you can't get to the linebackers, when there's so many guys up there. So that's where the counter to those 3-4 fronts are running more power and counter. And here I'm going to show you an example of when they try to run one back counter, which I misidentified it on Twitter earlier. I called it power, but it is counter because the guard is kicking out, not pulling through. And the thing is, they actually, I like the idea of this. They're faking, it's counter, right? So you're going to see counter steps from a guy like Noah Gray, who over does his counter step maybe a little bit, but he's trying to get that's just what his responsibility is on this. It's a counter run. That's what he's taught to do. But he is supposed to be the replacement for the second back here, where you're pulling through and leading through. Usually it's a tight end, I guess, on GH counter when it's coming from the other side. So, he really is, supposed to be, getting this play side linebacker, sealing him off. And if you can kind of envision if 57 did sit back there and 83 was to get his body on him, look at that. Look at the lane that could possibly be there if McKinnon is able to get up through, obviously Trey kicks him out, up through and into this space around here, because Brown's obviously going to have this sealed. He's about to down block on Logan Wilson, but 57 just does not fall for any sort of counter move at all. I mean, he sees Brown down block and he's like, well, shoot, I'm coming right here. I mean, I don't really understand they almost get too cute on this. I don't really understand the play, like the alignment on this. Like Noah Gray has such a hard time getting there because you were asking him to seal somebody that he's already out leveraged against. And if 57 takes any steps forward, 83 is going to have a tough time. So if 83 does get hands on him and can just wash him down with the rest of the down blocks, that's where you're seeing, boom, a wide open lane. But it's a good play by 57, no doubt. But I just feel like this might just be the Chiefs getting a little cute. So I also want your guys' takes on this real quick. Caleb, I'll start with you this time. Are you seeing what I'm seeing in terms of maybe like the weird alignment, or is Noah Gray maybe, just taking too big of a step? What are you seeing here?
Well, it's an interesting play because typically when you run, the counter, you're getting 2 guys around pulling. I know McKinnon takes the counter footwork and Trey is the single man pulling. That's weird. That's the setup for this, because even if it was like if Wiley were to pull, or if they had the tight end backside pulling, then you can see where it turned into counter. This feels like something maybe a little bit different, but yeah, I mean, I think Noah Gray's late. He loops in reality, in a situation like that, where you've got a defensive end and that kind of alignment, I'd almost want Gray to crash down and try to seal it and tell Trey to log around to the outside, and then he can pick up that guy while Jody goes to the next level. It's a high-level play. Give credit to the Bengals. I guess they did it, but I do think the Chiefs are probably getting a little bit cute there on this one.
Yeah, well, I do think it is just because they're down blocking. I do think it is supposed to be like counter, and I think just think about Gray. If Gray's over here aligned, he's pulling through and getting 57. So I think they're just trying to get him over there already and thinking this is an advantage. But I don't know, Nate. I mean, do you see a weird part of that, or is this just what do you think about this? What do you think about this?
I mean, I don't know how they, I don't know their blocking rules well enough to like say. I would certainly think it'd be easier for Orlando Brown to cut off that Mike linebacker. I mean, he's in a good position there working off that double team that he'd be able to pick him off. Then again, like, do you think Noah Gray can, kind of take that defensive end shaded inside? I don't know. At that point, maybe not. But yeah, certainly if your goal is to reach that Mike linebacker, which I would think it is, then yeah, I would do that. Yeah. I mean, Trey Smith's cutting off that defensive end anyways, pulling around. So I don't know who. I would have to know more about their blocking rules. Yeah. But yeah, I would think Orlando Brown would certainly have an easier time working to that linebacker.
Yeah, no, I mean that's the thing. Traditional, counter rules are that you're leaving that play side linebacker for the pulling around,
Right.
pull through player. So, I do get that, but you're right, and there is something too. Maybe Von Bell coming in late that maybe messes with their responsibilities. Possibly, I'm not sure. Maybe, but I guess that wouldn't. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too much about this play. But all my entire point of this, and then I'll hand it off, is just that they don't they need to run these more, and obviously they don't run them enough because they don't execute them very well, and don't aren't in a good feel of them. And these are the kind of plays that can get you home runs against those 3-4 fronts. The Eagles aren't going to run a ton of them, I bet. I would imagine, if they're smart, but at the same time they may pressure them into that, seeing that the Bengals and Jaguars are able to do that, force them into more second and third longs. And let's be honest, guys, the Chiefs offense just wasn't very smooth, just wasn't very great this postseason at all. I mean, in general, but they got it done. Obviously the ankle has something to do with that, but we'll just see if they if they have any more tricks up their sleeve, and kind of get to more of those power encounters in the Super Bowl. But that is enough for me. Now it's time to talk Eagles, because we do need to know who we're talking about, right? We do need to know who we're getting into. So, Caleb, I'll let you take it away, man, and talk about the Eagles pass rush.
Well, when you talk about one of the one of the keys to this game, I think that you got to talk about this Eagles defensive line. They were a complete juggernaut this season. They were almost a record-breaking unit. 70 sacks tied them for third all time in the NFL. Easily the clear, by far and away, the best team at getting to the quarterback this season in the NFL. By far and away at 70. The Chiefs were second at like 55. So, and really the way they get to the quarterback is they have so much depth and they have so much talent along their defensive line. And I'll start it out here with this one. And you see, that's the number one guy. That's public enemy number one for the offensive line and the offensive tackles this week. Number 7 on that left end, Hassan Reddick. Look at this front they got. They got 5 defensive linemen down on the ball. This is going to probably set up one-on-ones across the board. The 2 tight ends on the right are going to be chipping here on Josh Sweat, another double-digit sack guy. But you see Reddick, he gets into Tyron Smith here, and Tyron Smith is far past his prime, but he's still an admirable option out at right tackle. He's still a good player, but you see the separation, and then he can get through and bend the edge. He cuts down space quickly. He's a true definition of a bendy edge rusher. They give help to their left tackle here with the chips, but then you take a look at the 3 guys on that defensive line. You see Fletcher Cox driving the pocket back, so Dak really can't step up anywhere. He doesn't want to step up, and Reddick comes in, strip sack. Philadelphia was 4th in the NFL this season in turnovers. They were really, reliant on turnovers for their defense, and a lot of them came because their defensive line just creates constant pressure throughout the course of a game. And these are typically the kind of guys that have given Orlando Brown and Wiley issues in the past, these quick edges. We come over to the next play after this. Eagles ball, of course. Just 4 men on the line of scrimmage this time. To me, Reddick and Sweat are almost the exact same guy. When you watch them, they're like almost carbon copies of one another. They're both athletic. They both bend. They both get around the edge quickly. They both use their speed. And the Eagles really are smart with how they use them, because we'll take a look. They're both coming off screaming off this play. You got the defensive line obviously going to just keep pushing the pocket back, but Reddick hits an excellent spin move on Smith. But then you take a look back over to the right. Sweat is starting to beat Tyler Smith there on the left side, or on the right side of your screen, left side of the offensive line. But really, Tyler Smith is in a position where he could maybe possibly just keep pushing him up the pocket and just run him around Dak. But you take a look on the other side of the line, you see the penetration. Dak can't step up, so that makes it hard for him. That pretty much puts him in a situation where he has to stay at the level he's at. And with Sweat coming in, he does an excellent job of running him down. They get these guys on different levels. It's a very coordinated attack. You see the spin, it takes away the inside. Fletcher Cox starts to head out also. I believe, Javon Hargrave inside. I don't even really have a clip of him to share tonight, and he's been an 11 sack guy, a terror on the interior defensive line. And you see here, because Smith can't push him past the quarterback because the other Smith got beat inside, now they've got a problem. Dak tries to scramble, but like I said, these guys are fast. They're built to run down quarterbacks. They're built to be able to run guys down, and that's exactly what they do on this play. They're lightning quick around the outside. And, that's like I mentioned before, that's kind of what the Chiefs have struggled to do this year. Their whole defense is really all in on the new generation of pass rushers, these bendy athletic guys. And here you see that this 5-man defensive line again. They're trying to set up one-on-ones across the board, but they run this super loop with Reddick. He gets all the way around, and then everyone else hops in to help get Rodgers down. And you see they got Reddick over there, head up on David Bakhtiari, number 69. And you see they got 5 guys. So, typically in a situation like this, an offensive line is going to make some sort of a call that would signify they've all got to help out in pass protection, even if it looks like, they got Aaron Jones over in motion to help give a chip or something. He chips Sweat, so give Bakhtiari a little time. But you see the left guard is starting to reach in, 78, and is starting to have to go in also with the other defensive tackle. Both defensive tackles kind of slant in. And then here comes Reddick, eating up space, taking quick steps, doing what he can. He cuts down so much space because he is so fast and athletic. It's hard for these guys. But I mean, look at the push also, their defensive line is creating so much pressure. Also, they create movement, they create vertical push up field. The quarterbacks have not felt comfortable. Look at 78. He's getting, this guy's trying to rip inside the A gap. So Rodgers doesn't really feel comfortable stepping up or moving over to his left. And and it just turns kind of right there. It just turns to a real easy play for Reddick. I mean, does he even get touched here? I think maybe at the very end, and everyone comes around. The super loop was incredible there. They get in that 5 defensive line look, and they want to just look to get after the quarterback. There's only a few teams in the league that do it. They do it as well as anyone. And really having all these different guys, it gives them a chance to run so much different stuff. They got 6 or 7 guys. They all do something completely different. I haven't even talked about really Brandon Graham. I haven't even talked about old man Fletcher Cox coming in on the
right.
They take advantage of other teams' tendencies. This is one on this play getting ready to come up where Reddick is going to go inside. Sweat's going to try to stay wide, but Aaron Jones is going to come in, and he comes in out of control and misses really on Reddick. But that gives, they're running this ET where the end penetrates first, and Cox is coming around to the outside. Well, Jones is all discombobulated, so his back actually turns into giving Cox a free run at Rodgers, and then they just corral on him. They are as good a unit as I can remember seeing in NFL. They are outstanding. They are really good, but they have to be really good for this team to win. I see people comparing this Eagles team to the Tampa Bay team the Chiefs saw a couple years ago. Despite the fact the Chiefs is much improved, yes, Tampa Bay had a dominant defensive line, but there really isn't like a couple of dominant guys, and I don't think their linebackers are as good. Yes, they have the dominant edge rushers, but really, if you remember back to that Super Bowl against Tampa, it was more the Vita Vea show up front because no one on the Chiefs had an answer for that. They don't have, Javon Hargrave is good. I think the Chiefs interior is going to be okay. I think Wild, Tooney, and Creed, this is the kind of game you want them for. This is why they're here to take on guys like Cox, like Hargrave. Outside, though, they got those 2 fast guys, Reddick and Sweat. They can do everything. They can play in the pass. Brandon Graham's another guy. He's their changeup. If the tackles start getting used to the speed, start getting on their speed sets, they put in Brandon Graham, and he's just going to bull rush a guy right into the quarterback. That's what he does. Those guys I just mentioned are all 10-plus sack guys, 4 of them, and then Cox has the 7. It's an impressive unit. It's a dominant unit, but like I mentioned before, they have to have those guys play well to win, and, if they don't, then some points can be put up on this defense.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about it because I agree with you, and I'm going to have something, you guys have your Eagles previews. Mine is still yet to post, but it is going to be centered around the back end of the Philly defense, seeing what they're at. But Nate, I've teased it, but you got the Philly offense. I'm excited to learn a little bit about it.
Well, I know this because I'm too much online that Chiefs fans hate the word blueprint in terms of like how to stop something, right?
Yes.
And I'm not going to get into that or not, but I genuinely think there is a blueprint to stop the Eagles. I watched like 8 Eagles games last weekend, and like just looking at certain things. And my rule is if I can notice something, then it's not good for your offense, because if I can notice something, that means a bunch of coaches and scouts are going to notice it. The thing that's noticeable to me, the Eagles are not good against the blitz, like at all. And I will pull up my first clip here. And the game that really convinced me of this was the Week 5 game against the Arizona Cardinals. And yeah, I know the Arizona Cardinals went like 4-12-1 this year. Totally irrelevant. But Vance Joseph, who isn't my favorite style defensive coordinator because of some of the ways he I won't get into that. But he laid a really good blueprint on how to stop Jalen Hurts' offense. And what he did was he just sent the house on blitzes constantly. And I'll kind of explain why. I'm just going to let these clips kind of run because I don't have like anything like super specific about like any of these blitzes. I'll kind of show some of them on the screens here in a second. But like Jalen Hurts, who I really, really like, he's still not great at beating the blitz within a structure of an offense because the Eagles don't really run a lot of concepts where he has to throw in like the middle of the field, especially versus like man to man, because Jalen Hurts isn't particularly good at that. So if you're not able to do that versus the blitz, like we know with like Patrick Mahomes, like when Patrick Mahomes is blitzed, he's going to find Travis Kelce over the middle, pepper that over and over and over again. That's why teams don't blitz him. Jalen Hurts isn't like that. His two answers for the blitz are either the screen game, which I'll get to a second, or these like outside the numbers throws. And it kind of devolves their offense because it's really hard. Like eventually, as you kind of see the Cardinals here, they found tendencies. They were able to like drop guys at times. They were able to show pressure and drop, and then the screens wouldn't work. Or like I'll just say like on the first drive they had, I'll kind of go to this next clip of screens. Like Philadelphia legitimately ran like 6 or 7 screens on their first drive, like these outside perimeter screens. Like 3 went to Goddard, 2 went to like Dallas or AJ Brown. And after that, Vance Joseph made an adjustment. He was like, okay, like we'll rotate, but our guys are just going to be flying downhill because this is like their only answer. So from an offense sense, their offense like devolved to literally just screens. And I'm not, they probably ran 15 screens against the Cardinals. And eventually they were just dropping. Like they were like, okay, we can show pressure. We know we're going to get a screen. We'll drop. And I think it's because Jalen Hurts doesn't really like to throw over the middle of the field. So their only option to get really quick offense through the passing game against the blitz is screens and screens. Well, if the defense sees screens a bunch of times, they're going to eventually going to fly downhill. And I didn't think this was a big deal, right? Like I was like, okay, it's a one-off game. Jordan Mailata and Landon Dickerson were out. Maybe, it's just a one game. But DeMeco Ryans, very smart defensive coordinator who just got a head coach job with the Texans. He did the same thing, and it was on a limited sample because the game just, got out of hand quickly. But he did the same thing on the first 2 third downs of the game. Actually, let me make sure. This is the first time. Okay, so they're going to have all these guys on the line of scrimmage right here. So they're going to have 2 guys walked up, and they will send pressure. They're able to get their Mike linebacker free. And Jalen Hurts makes a good play. He makes a good throw over the middle of the field, although it almost hits the ground. But they only ran this 4 or 5 times, and this play worked, and they had a bogus like holding call against them. But the Eagles still kind of didn't really have like a lot of answers. Here's the other one. This time they show everyone, but they're going to drop. They're going to drop it to cover 3. Hurts doesn't really know where to go. This is almost a pick. Hufanga doesn't keep his feet in bounds. That's what sold me. I was like, okay, Vance Joseph decided I'm going to blitz Jalen Hurts a lot. I'm going to blitz their offense. Their offense got extremely simple. It was either outside the numbers throws or screens. They don't have a lot of I'm not trying to exaggerate. They don't have a lot of answers besides that. And why that's important is Steve Spagnuolo is a very, blitz heavy defensive coordinator. Not as much this year, but in the past he was. And I'll show one more thing here. Arizona was doing a lot of run blitzes, and I don't know if I've always struggled with like run blitzes, but they were inserting their linebackers really, really late, or like their safeties from depth really, really late, like right before the snap, not really letting the Eagles climb to the second level with like a zone blocking scheme. I have clips on my Twitter if you want to see. They can either like fold Kelce into space, or they're just trying to climb the second level. And the thing is about the Eagles is they're so athletic on their offensive line when they're healthy that like if you let them get to the second level, they're just going to destroy you. So the Arizona kind of Vance Joseph, at least this is my theory. I don't know. They were like, okay, let's just fly downhill. That way they can't climb to the second level as easily. It tests the Miles Sanders vision to be able to navigate like something that changes like right after the snap and someone running at him. And to me, like that just kind of blends into the same like blitzing idea as well. Just fly downhill, present weird stuff because the Eagles they like to run the ball. They like to throw outside the numbers. I would say their offense is built like, what is the easiest answer to the problem you're presenting me? But when you as a defense don't give the same look over and over again, it's a lot harder to have answers. And to me, that's why I feel really good about the Chiefs defense going in this week, because Vance Joseph laid kind of a blueprint, in my opinion, on what you do against the Eagles offense. If you present pressure, even if you're dropping, if you just blitz a few times, even if you drop sometimes, the Eagles offense will not beat you with like easy middle of the field, explosive over routes or anything like that. That's not what their offense is, really. So to me, this is a week where Steve Spagnuolo should bring the house. He should bring it early and often. I actually think it can help versus his run game. Instead of having Nick Bolton try and stand still and take on Jason Kelsey in space, like let him just go downhill. Like even if he misses once in a while, that's fine. Like Willie Gay, they might miss because the Eagles are really good at this, but I don't know. I'd rather have Nick Bolton miss flying downhill than him try and take on Jason Kelsey in space, because that's not gonna. The Chiefs will lose. Like they're gonna lose if that happens. So overall, I know I kind of said a lot of things there. Send the house, send pressure at the line of scrimmage, run and pass, make the Eagles kind of devolve their offense and try just limit the run game. I think that's the best schematic advantage the Chiefs have.
No, you hit on. I wanted to say what you said with Nick Bolton, but also Willie Gay in the same way. I think I really think the way you want to use those guys is aggressive. Get downhill, just make plays. And you're right. Hey, it's going to result in a big play sometimes, but it's going to result in a big play the other way too sometimes in terms of a negative 2 yard 2 yard loss or whatever. So yeah, and I wanted to say on one of those Jalen Hurts clips, I noticed it too on the one where he actually almost threw a pick on the one he completed to AJ Brown over the middle to beat the blitz. But you're right, because I mean Fred Warner just kind of dropped a little too much to the sideline, but he didn't even account for him, and that's the kind of thing you're talking about, where he doesn't throw over the middle. Like he's not gonna think, he's not gonna maybe think about a linebacker over the middle maybe as much as someone else. Or no, that was a great breakdown. I appreciate you doing all that. Great stuff, boys. I mean, our viewers got to be ready for the Super Bowl by now, no doubt about it. Caleb, I'll let you say bye to the viewers, but also if you got any takes on the Eagles offense too, from what Nate was showing us.
I think underrated matchup. We're talking about stop the run, blitz Jalen Hurts. Those rookie DBs versus AJ Brown and Devontae Smith.
Yes.
That is going to be colossal again. I don't think a lot of the national media is giving those Chiefs DBs the credit they deserve, despite the game they just had versus Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and that bunch in Cincinnati. But this is going to be putting them to the test yet again. They stepped up big last week and made plays when they needed to. That unit is really going to need to step up, because if the Chiefs can stop the run, the Eagles, knowing the way they've played this year, it's going to be bombs away down the sideline. They're going to be looking to connect on those deep balls. Hard part will be stopping the run, though. But when they do, like Nate said, you got to be able to find ways to, get home with some blitzes. Last game of the season, let it all, just let it empty the playbook, let it go. Just play, man. It's gonna be a fun game. I'm glad we get to watch the Chiefs in another one.
Yeah, no. In terms of fun, I do think we'll definitely see some Andy Reid pulling some stuff out of the bag against his former team, and I'd say the Eagles probably could too, for sure. Nick Sirianni can get a little creative, so it'll be a fun one. Appreciate everyone watching. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Again, make sure you subscribe to the page. Follow us on Twitter. All of our @s are right here on the screen. We all appreciate it. Go Chiefs, and hopefully we're talking about the Super Bowl next week in a positive tone and a good tone. We'll be breaking it down either way, but hopefully it'll be fun for us and not miserable. So, all right, have it. Signing off.